Greetings from Plague Father Johnbonne. I have recently been afflicted by the plagues of Great Father Nurgle, so rather than doing an intro that is more Hallololoween-y, as old Johnbonne might call it, I have decided to spread the great, decaying, flea-bitten, pus-filled, bubo-riddled word of Great Father Nurgle, the engineer of life and the horticulturist of death. So I do hope that you embrace my afflictions, and I do hope that the heretics are devoured whole by the swarms of nurglings that will be spawned from this video. Happy Halloween, viewer! I'm sorry, I'm not normally like this when I have a cold. It's been 5 days now. It's a bit sodding ridiculous, isn't it? In fact, this review's got nothing to do with Warhammer Fantasy, so just enjoy, I guess. Yeah.
Okay, so I've said on occasion that I don't review free-to-play games, but I'm sorry, I just can't find any priced horror games that captivate me. In fact, the ones outside of Steam I found to be better than some of the biggest titles out there. I mean, this one still sucks, but at least I got a lot to say about it. The first thing has to be the title, Clown House. It's pretty bad when the first thing you tell your audience is a complete lie. What I mean is, clowns are friggin' scary. I don't know why, but I hate them. It could be that they're a psychedelic parody of humans, that they always seem like they're gonna force things into my butt when I'm not ready. What, you don't get those vibes there either? Oh. While clowns are normally overly happy beings, this game is as bleak as the money these maniacal actors are given to entertain and humiliate themselves. The entire setting is grey and the FOV is reduced with a black border surrounding the screen, adding more to the misery of it all. Secondly, the word house. This is barely in an apartment, much less a house, with only 4 rooms joined together with the worst architectural planning I've seen since Dracula's castle in Symphony of the Night. The gameplay is cut criminally short because of it. As I speak, you've probably seen me complete the game 3 times already. So what's the story of Clown House? You're trapped in a house with several murderous clowns? For no discernible reason. I have to confess, the handful of sentences that Aslan Game Studios call a story made me chuckle. You're there for no reason at all. Forget Amnesia, Silent Hill, Five Nights at Freddy's, all of which were made infinitely better by their narrative, and yet the Psycho Circus here says screw that and just puts it all down to Sod's Law. Brilliant. Now earlier I did say several murderous clowns, and yes, I'm going to leave that mistake in the script because it's not as though the game deserves any better. There is actually only one. At least I think so. The problem is that they change around each time, but it's easy to figure it out, or at least it is when a single sound makes you leap out of your skin, declaring the killer is coming for you. The killer will saunter toward you and jab the air like Norman Bates, kill the wrong clown, which is virtually impossible unless you're trying to guess who it is before they attack, and you become one of them. We'll get round to that later. I really should trademark that phrase, or whatever it is you do. I also have to give it to the developers for making the clown's death animations worthy of a giggle. They just fall on their backs, spread eagle with a smile on the face, funny out of irony and stupidity. But most of the time you have to do this because that's not your objective, merely a poorly made gimmick. You instead have to find a key and escape, locking the clowns in behind you. Indeed, that's all you do. So let me get this straight. You wake up randomly in a random house to find a randomly placed key amongst a group of killer clowns, one of which is randomly picked to maybe to hold it off with random hit detection. If one thing's for certain, it's that this game has a lot of randomness. Let me tell you about Clown House. What it is a waste of potential and even time for those who can't appreciate how good it could really be. What it isn't, and this is the important part, is it's not scary. And I don't mean in the same way as Alien Isolation, though it is rather boring. I mean after you've escaped and died only one time, the terror's over. There's 2 kinds of scare in this game. There's the sound that plays when the killer is approaching you, which I will admit shatters my nerves, but I'm scared of my own shadow so it doesn't count. The second thing is the killer getting closer. It's not until they get rather close that you can see them and take action. You can defend yourself with a handgun with an extended clip that must be dragging across the floor, as you've infinite bullets and it only really takes one to defeat the clowns. By equipping the gun with the right mouse bumper, you'll aim, but you're locked in place and the left trigger fires. When you hit, the game might as well end. Because you play as Clint Eastwood, you get a sense of bravado when you pull out the gun, and because there's so little room to maneuver, there's no point in trying to scare yourself further by running away because there's no chance of success. With this in mind, you're left only to enjoy the jankiness of the gameplay and animations, not to mention be saddened by how good this could have been had an extra bit of work gone into it, and that's why I'm not ending the review here, because I want Clown House 2 to make me shit my pants. I mean without the bother of having to change stuff. Oh, sod it! The first thing I'd like to see the developers do is add a price tag. I'd rather pay for a good horror game than this underwhelming, barely replayable tripe that I almost want to have sex with a bit, and then use the money to make more stuff, like a proper goddamn house. Powered by Unity, Clown House undoubtedly uses assets to make this 1800s mansion, but the clowns and their animations are incredibly poor and need a lot more work done to them to make the game frightening. But the engine itself and the use of the assets is fine because the developers have done something original with them. Speaking of assets, the house is a mashup of 3 incredibly small rooms of Unity set pieces. It feels like being in a B&Q showroom. I want to see killer clowns from out of town, not what beds, kitchens and bathrooms are in stock. The clowns also need some work. The chase needs to be sped up or at least made a lot less obvious. Perhaps have 3 phases. First they're just sitting down, then after the second chime have them move about, and on the third chime have them approach you one by one but you're unsure which is going to force things into your chest. Or maybe fill the house with clowns wandering around and you try to find out which one's following you. Kinda like Murder at Masquerade Manor. Now that was a great puzzle horror game and it's free, so do check it out. We've already established that killing an innocent clown traps you in the building and forces you to become one, but much like Sunset where I've told this rather than shown it, how about some animations, or maybe when I restart the game I'm playing as the clown and there's an NPC trying to find the key. I think a multiplayer mode would work best for a concept like that actually. The key mechanic also has to change. Too many times was I able to find the key in less time than it takes. Actually, I can't think of a suitable analogy. The game ends that quickly. There were too few possible places for the key to hide and too many times does it spawn in the same place repeatedly. Also, some animations would be appreciated. The character's arm should outstretch to grab it and then show them open the door and lock it behind them rather than have a screen pop up when you're in the vicinity of the door. As for the horror aspect, the scariest and hardest part is trying to find out which clown it is before they make their move. I was unnerved by the one that turns to face you whenever you look away, like the mannequins in Condemned. I mean, that was so good that the developers did it in both games. But when the music blares to announce the killer, the scare is lost a few seconds later. I won't be playing the game long enough to be scared of that sound again, because the chances of the killer triggering before you find the key and leave are as great as me not using scenes from Bottom in my videos, which I really must get back to. There has to be better ambient music than the forgettable crap that played earlier, and besides the grainy black and white look with reduced depth of field which doesn't have much of an effect 5 minutes in, and you realise how shallow the game's attempts to scare you actually are.
It's time to kill the joke and start clowning around with my final thoughts.
Clown House is awful. It just is. Most of the time the objective is far too easy, and by not having clowns react to you having the key, or hell even trying to find it themselves, you've got a very short and very safe game. Sure, the blaring music helps, but that's the music scaring me, not the gameplay, and the clown walking like he's in a haters gonna hate gif doesn't really help with that, not to mention it makes it all the more laughable. Not out of comedic value, but out of incompetent animation work. The cheapness goes on further with a lack of field of view, which works for Silent Hill or Medieval, but both of those were due to technical restrictions. Those games worked with what they had, and the thick fog that surrounds the player in Silent Hill has become an iconic feature because of that. This game has no excuse besides wanting to hide its embarrassing clown walk. The graphics are shoddy and the use of Unity's engine itself is poor. It's a great engine and provides excellent asset packs for new and experienced developers, but I'll give credit to Unity for whatever looks good, not the developers for plonking them in there. I will say this though, the concept is stunning and the potential is so obvious that it's painful to see it not get used. Clown House is a great framework for any horror game should you want to develop one, but I can only review what I'm seeing, and all I'm seeing are blueprints for the big top.
Halloween must come to a close and the circus has got to leave town. Until the next time, I'm Playcraft at Johnbonne, giving you everything from Nurgle's Rot to Saturday Night Fever. And I do hope to see you next year in my house bouse of Horror. Ta-ta for now, and praise be Nurgle. Another thing that's certain is that it's pants. It's the semen-soaked shreddies of a sweaty bollocked minotaur. Actually, that's not a bad thing. Look, whatever, the game's just pants. I mean, it's what I said earlier, if that were a bad thing. Which it isn't. Don't you go judging me now!